Hey, so I want to try and make a quick video because the one I'm actually trying to edit it's just taking a long time to edit. Recently I made this tweet. I'm gonna try to do this live so I don't have to edit it. I know, right? It's an abomination. It's Tim Patrick greater than Gabe Davis. One, it's just kind of poking the bear. I'll admit it. I think I figured it would get some interaction and it would be fun, and it's been great. I mean, a few insults, but in the fun way, I feel. And also just some people asking, and I realized I didn't really want to type it out in full. So one thing you gotta understand is I left this vague so I could do an ADP adjustment, and in fact the people that have asked have often run into that. They'll often say they wouldn't do it ADP adjusted in terms of their points per game expectation, or even their overall points expectation, because there's like a 15% difference between these two players. So what's this tweet about? Explain your tweet. It seems weird to have to explain a tweet, but we're gonna. So yeah, I wanted to challenge two things. A lot of the conversation, I think, that encourages people to think Gabe Davis is a more likely breakout candidate this year than he actually is the surrounding talent in front of him over the last few years. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley have been taking up 16 and 12% of the target share last year. And with them gone, who's going to fill that void? For a start, I don't start off with that prior, and so that's what strikes me as a bad argument to begin with. But I will say, the article I've actually read says target movement like that may indicate team intention. But this specific tweet is about challenging the idea that the talent around a lower drafted prospect holds them back from hitting certain levels of opportunity. Over the last 3 years, Tim Patrick has had the same or greater target share than Gabe Davis in an offense that we consider to have much more higher drafted and in their prime talent in the form of Corey Davis and Jerry Jeudy. And that's not talking raw targets or performance. Gabe Davis is very efficient, so is Tim Patrick. They're both good, they're both performing a role, it's great. But he's been co-opting no less than 12%, then he moves up to 15%, and last year, let's look. Last year he was back down to around 14%. Now, here's the other fun stuff about Tim Patrick. In year 3, this is 2019, he had a hand fracture. He's on the injury report about 8 times, according to Player Profiler I used to look it up. And so this year he had a hand fracture, because something else I've heard about Gabe Davis is he had an ankle injury to start off the year, which slowed his progression. The following year, they drafted Jerry Jeudy, but Courtland Sutton was unavailable because of his own injury, so he was a wide receiver too. So it's actually a similar story, but he still only finished as a wide receiver 44 overall. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, that was with Drew Lock, but if that exact same thing happens with Gabe Davis, he will break out in his third year instead of Tim Patrick just having a measly wide receiver 44 overall season. What I find it to be is an interesting recent example with another player with low draft capital who's shown efficiency and an ability to co-opt an above 10% target share role. Now, Gabe Davis has gone from 10 to 9 because of the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, apparently. But what I'm pointing out is that if you just use that story, Tim Patrick has some remarkably favorable comparisons and couldn't quite eke in by a fair distance into the top 36. But with core quarterback play, yes, for sure. But the volume increase here from 12 to 15%, that's a more reasonable expectation. This is one of the reasons Tim Patrick wouldn't have made my more interesting value list now when he did a couple of years ago. I still think Tim Patrick's good. I think Tim Patrick's underrated. In fact, I think it is underrated that even on this heavily congested roster with both Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick, he's been neck and neck with both of them in target share. I mean, these top 3 of their target shares last year, and they all played a significant season of the game. He outproduced them in points per game. I think a reasonable expectation for Gabe Davis is that he's a top 40, 50 wide receiver. The team intends to use him as a wide receiver too, but they also added a receiving running back and another depth wide receiver in the form of Jamison Crowder. And without that many wide receivers that kind of coerce, demand, create, if you don't like those terms, use the one you want, that are going to have that level of target share, the team passing attempts per game can come down. And the second reason is, if you set an unreasonable expectation for a player and then he misses it, we tend to think the player disappointed. It may sound like I'm being negative on the player here, instead of recognizing that a 16% to 19% target share and finishing inside the top 40 is very reasonable, and finishing inside the top 24 is more unreasonable. And if he doesn't get there, that won't mean he hasn't done well. If he does, it will mean he's done really well, and he's done something most players in that situation do not do. There is some there, but it is not common. It is not what normally happens. And in fact, when you compare elements that are very similar to Tim Patrick's narrative, and what you find and what you start seeing, and that's what I was trying to challenge with this tweet, is that those elements don't really track for projecting higher volume. What I found is that once you challenge one, people just slip onto the next. And if you challenge all of them, they just say, well, it's never all been in the same place at the same time, when actually, yeah, it has. It's just that we don't want to believe it's that different. And it's about belief, and you can't really logic away someone's belief. I get it, but that's what this tweet was about. That's my thought process to the tweet. As far as will Tim Patrick finish higher than Gabe Davis, I think he's got a chance. All right, let me know what you think, I guess. Or don't. Thanks. Bye. Hey, thanks for checking out another video. If you could like, subscribe, comment, that'd all be great. But also check out the rest of the channels and follow my Patreon link to see what I'm up to over there. And the Linktree link, I guess, is going to take you to easy access to my podcast, the articles I'm writing over there at DLF, as well as most of the other things I'm up to. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks very much.